Right, let's get into tonight's show. Slightly different, much less news, reduced intel for sensitive reasons, which is why today's show was written, or certainly a portion of today's show was written for the third time this week. But tonight's show is going to cover a lot of our current ills of people not thinking before speaking or writing. People fallen for the several divisive programs ran on us globally, who are doing it, and a warning also of what is to come and what we are at. Now, we at THI have put extensive hours into negate those divisive programs and also to prepare us for this time and also our future. But then we come to the other end of the spectrum. People acting important, not doing important work. There is a difference, and an important one to grasp. But alas, some see it as an opportunity to challenge people who they perceive as being in more important positions than them, who then insert themselves into situations for their own self-importance, whilst contributing nothing to any solutions, just mired only in drama. The latest of which is Randall Kaiser. His title, Anna von Reitz and Jesper Ellerman Lackey Boy. Seems to me anyway. Now apparently Mr. Kaiser thinks our show is a load of crap and is also pure propaganda. And I'm sure his 40 to 50 listeners to his podcast may agree with that, or maybe they won't. So clearly Mr. Kaiser's not liking me or THI. Fine by me. But why join THI then? Because the lure of money and funding always brings these type of people out, in many cases out from the gutter. Randall feels Kim and Anna von Reitz need to work together, and he appears to have self-appointed himself a position to tell Kim what she should and shouldn't do. Keep running with that, Randall, and it won't end well. I promise you. The world is full of people telling others what to do, and too few doing the work themselves, THI accepted, which is why Mr. Kaiser didn't last too long in our group. Randall appears to live in a soundproof booth and hears nothing, and also a darkened room as he sees nothing. Kim tried twice to work with her. Anna tried to steal the funds. But Randall can't hear that, it seems, and likes to work with people who want to put their hand in the cookie jar and take things that belongs to everybody else. Randall thinks Kim should work with Anna. This is the same Anna who publicly admitted to blocking the trust funds for the people. Her words, not mine. So Randall, what have you got to say for that? Anna is the same person who spent the last few years calling Kim everything under the sun. But the latest fake Jesus incarnate, Randall Kaiser, thinks we should ignore all that and just carry on. We went from Kim is not the trustee to she is. Then she stole the trust. That also didn't exist at some point. She is dead. She is a man. She's a cold-hearted bitch. To she is my cousin. All lovely, conducive words to engineering a working harmonic relationship, isn't it, Randall? Not. So here is the latest rendition of the Diary of a Madwoman, a genetics-based interbreeding experiment within the same family that has clearly had its effects in this generation. Listen closely now, Randall. Quote, but Kim is an AI-controlled eugenics experiment, and they can override her brain at will, tell her what to do, and what not to do. Must be Mr. Kaiser. And she will do it because the left half of her brain is largely separated from the right half of her brain, as you can readily determine by doing a brain scan on her. Unquote. Desperate claims, desperate tactics, desperate woman. Can't produce facts, and so write shit. Well, that failed again. Newsflash, Randall, before you make more of a fool of yourself than you already have. Fact 1. Anna von Reitz works for the system, always has, and always will do. Fact 2. Anna is not interested in the people, as proven by blocking the trust funds. Fact 3. Anna has asked for proof of claims, or was asked for proof of claims, and she rejected it. Fact 4. Is it not significant, Randall, that the funds she is claiming are all for the bloodline families, of which she is one of them, the very same people who looted the trust under Kim's predecessor? They did nothing for the people except harvesters. Fox in charge of the hen house has never worked too well, Mr. Kaiser. Fact 5. She is fond of asking who appointed Kim, which has been answered several times, but refuses to answer who appointed her. There are your facts, Mr. Kaiser, and it's time you stepped out of your darkened, soundproof existence and into the light of reality. As for Anna, once a Habsburg, always a Rothschild, is all I have to say. So this is from Kim. Please name publicly all of Kim's alleged controllers and all members of the group she allegedly is a member of. Further, please post publicly all documentation and evidence in your possession which states the following. 1. Any evidence linking Kim to any virus in China. 2. All brain scans which indicate that him is bioengineered, which you have in your possession. 3. All the names of the former trustees in proper legal format, with each and every one of them signed and notarized attestation with identification of their claim to any property with proof Kim currently holds this property. Assets, accounts, cash, land. And proof of the existence of the said asset in question with all legal documentation showing that they were trustees, beneficiaries, and or owners with their name clearly stated on said documents. Any vague information such as Indian tribe or descendants of X is not legal proper form and will be disregarded. If you cannot substantiate any claims, please remove this post, as then it is clearly a defamation of character and shall be treated accordingly. It's unbelievable. But it's a sign, for me anyway, whilst it's frustrating, and in some cases unpleasant, the things these people are calling Kim, who have done nothing for humanity. Absolutely zero. Just fighting for fake titles and self-importance. But the old adage is you can't please all of the people all of the time. Has raised its head a bit in our group as well, and a bit too frequent for my liking recently, which is wasting my time and vast amounts of time of the admins. Now, one of the latest complaints is I don't cover topical things like the impeachment, 5G, chemtrails, geoengineering, or vaccines. Okay? But I have a question back. Do these same people complain to other shows of why they don't cover the near 100 topics that I do? Now, regular listeners will all know, unless you've got a Randall Kaiser soundproof booth, that is not the case. But for some it appears, despite me covering more topics and countries than any other show, it's never enough. Now, some, it appears, to think that I'm their personal teacher, as despite doing a packed 3-hour show plus each week, which takes roughly 6 to 10 times longer than that to produce. For reference, a single must-listen-to show take 80 to 100 hours to complete before going on air. But then some people think I should be on standby for Q&A sections after every show, or every time I turn on Facebook or MeWe. It's a lack of consideration. Doing this show at this time means I miss normal dinner, which is only done after the show, after posting the archive following the end of the show. Do people not consider that? Now, 90% plus of the questions I get asked were actually answered in the shows themselves. I've been looking through the chat and some of the questions that were asked this week on the Facebook, and they were all answered in the show. Over 90% of them. Now, I spend a lot of my time producing these shows, whilst also running the People's Club, research for the shows, answering to Facebook and MeWe, admin on both pages, dealing with trolls and people who clearly don't think before they write. All the emails, and that is before I do any work for or have meetings with Kim. Plus other hidden work. Where's my time to eat? Or think? And then we have people asking for one-on-one calls, or to review their proposal or discuss their proposals. Lengthy emails to answer. Now, those emails, I apologise to who have sent emails and I haven't responded. There's only me who opens those emails, and I can only get to open them emails twice a week now, and even then I have limited time to answer them. But I do think at times some people demand far too much from me, and I'm asking people to stop and think for a bit. Now, as for the claims, I personally don't think I need to give my opinion on vaccines again. I think I've made it quite clear. But for clarity of those who ask, I do not trust a single vaccine, which I've repeated in tens of shows. Chemtrails. Yes, they continue, but the great question is, what are they doing? It clearly doesn't affect 99.9999% of the people. Because after 40 years of spraying, 40 years plus I might add, we're all still alive. So one can deduce from that whatever they are doing is clearly not working. Or it's not as dangerous as some of the alt media people make out. Now, Kim was told by the council the people are immune to them in 99.999 recurring % of cases. So that then should end that topic, unless you like to be put in fear. Chemtrails is old news. Why is it still running? As for geoengineering, I warned about it in 2014. In fact, I warned about it earlier in my very first must listen to show, The Future of Humanity. I warned Californians they were being pushed out of the state back in 2014, and since warned people of Chicago, Miami, New York, and several other large cities of the same event. I did an extensive piece on the geoengineering of California and the fires. It was a fairly lengthy op-ed piece. And I also warned of the countries and states connected to the Gulf of Mexico, Puerto Rico being the most obvious one. But it seems that's not enough. 5G, oh dear. Again, people can ask questions of me, and I'm entitled to ask questions back. Where was the fear for 1, 2, 3, or 4G? And you get crickets. But if people are going to demand answers from me, it's only fair that I'm allowed to ask questions back, is it not? But the sick irony of it all is that the people asking and making bad comments against my opinion on 5G are mostly doing it from their phone. The irony is not lost. So if you really don't like 5G, your simple stance on it is get rid of your phones. Because if people don't have mobile phones, which is essentially a spy and track piece of technology, then there is no 5G. So what we can deduce from that is, you want me to talk of the dangers of 5G, but you won't take your own stance and responsibility for the reasons it is being implemented in the first place by keeping your phone. Is 5G dangerous? It has the potential to be. Like all technology, like this show's warned several times, almost every piece of technology introduced is weaponized against us in some way. Is it as dangerous as the alt media makes out? No. The top and bottom line of it is this show and the host has discounted a plethora of the fear-based narratives that has come out of the alt media. From various viruses, we've all heard the names, Ebola, H1N1, AIDS, etc., 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 on it goes. The zombie virus, Jade Helm, remember that? Other drills, FEMA camps, people roundups, of which we just done another discounting of that from another ex-clown. Guillotine trains, remember them? Muslim training camps, we're all gonna die. The UN on our soil several times. The Russians and Chinese are on our soil and are coming to get us. The list goes on and on and on. I discounted all of them. Now, do the people stop and think, he was correct on all of those. Perhaps his stance may be correct on those topics just covered. But the problem is people who buy into these fear porn based programs It's not me, but themselves, mired in fear, which is a low frequency vibration. If you're going to do that, you may as well have stayed asleep than awakening. And the question to ask yourselves is, does it make sense? Fear makes people ill. It's the most common cause of heart disease, not smoking. So fear makes people ill. Do you not understand that? You get ill or stressed, you buy and take their pills, which makes you more ill, and you then go and buy and take more of their pills. Jump off the hamster wheel for source sakes. I will not be changing my stance, and I will not put our listeners in unnecessary fears because a certain few revel in it. It is not conducive to personal growth. Never was, never will be. And the gist of these shows is, and it's not just an outlet for the trust funding some people think it is. Far from it. Money will not help people mired in their own victimhood fears of we're all going to die. It just won't. Money's not helped the Rothschilds, has it? Or the other top-end people with lots of money. They're all crapping themselves. Why? Because the people are coming for them. We know it, and they know it. And that is my stance, and I'm sticking to it. There will be no fear porn on our show. We'll be back shortly.